Welcome back to Unpopular People.
We believe that listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success.
Today in our interview, Rob and Nat.
Nat and Rob have been married for more than 27 years, and they are a really inspiring couple for us.
They live in Australia, they travel the world, and Rob's passion is surfing.
They decided not to have kids in their marriage, and why they made this decision you will find out in this interview.
You can also get many relationship advices from them in this interview.
We already learned a lot from them, and if you want to find out more about us and Unpopular People, please visit our website www.unpopularpeople.com.
If you want to stay updated, you can sign up for our newsletter on our website. There you can also find all the services we are offering.
You can also help us by sharing this podcast on all the social media platforms or use the donate button on our website www.unpopularpeople.com.
And now have fun with this amazing interview.
All right. Hello, Nat and Rob. Thank you very much for taking this time today to have this interview with us. I hope you're excited because we are excited too. It's our third or fourth interview in English now, so please mind the language barrier for us. We try our best to speak without accent and without doing too many mistakes.
Yeah, and for the listeners, we are actually in Australia, and we are very happy to stay with Rob and Nat together here in this house, and we are very excited, like Ben said, to do this interview with you today.
So we start with our first question, which is always the same for all our interview guests, just to give them a small idea like who you are and what you're doing. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your childhood, like did you have any siblings, and or like about your mom and dad, what did they do for work? So let us know. We start with you, Nat. Where were you born and how did you grow up?
Oh, hello. I was born in Australia. Okay, well, I grew up on 11 acres of land, and my mother and my father and my sister and I lived with my grandmother. At the age of 10, my mother kicked my father out because he was trouble. And yeah, basically had a great childhood. We lived with magpies and snakes and toads and frogs, and we had a water tank and an outside toilet and had a great time. And at the age of 12, my mother built her house like more in the suburbs. So from high school on, we lived in a slightly more modern house. My grandmother had a small stroke, nothing major, but my mother said, you better come live with us. So my mother built an extension onto her house for my grandmother to live there. I just went to the local high school. I finished in grade 12. Do you need me to go further?
You can tell us as much as you want. Like, yeah, if it's too long, we stop you, but don't worry. You can just tell us. It's very interesting.
Once I finished high school, I got jobs in the bank, and I guess I worked there for a few years. And what did I do? I got married for 2 years. And then that broke up just because I was too young, too immature, nothing big or major, just... And then after that, I went to Europe for 5 months backpacking. And when I got back from Europe, about 2 or 3 months after I got back from Europe, I met my current husband, and we've been married for 27 years. How's that for a wrap-up?
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. So now we come to you, Rob. How was your childhood like?
Yeah, I had a fairly interesting childhood. I'm one of 6 children. I'm the second eldest. I've got 4 sisters and 1 brother, all still on the planet. Thank goodness for that. I left school when I was 14, and from there I did an apprenticeship as a motor mechanic. Started that with my dad. He had a service station and his own workshop, so I started working for him at 14. And that was quite interesting back in the days, you know. But after that, finished that at about 18, and from there I sort of decided that I wanted to be a surfer. So for the next 4 or 5 years, I didn't do anything really but surf and party, I guess. And then I had a daughter. I've got one daughter, and she now has 2 children, 2 boys, gorgeous boys. Gorgeous boys, so I find that very exciting. I mean, that's good to see, like the progression of life on the planet, So I moved away from home when I was 18, and back when I was doing that, to my family and brothers and sisters, they didn't like that very much, because, that was something that really didn't happen back in those days, to leave home at such a young age, I just, full of adventure, and just took off and just travelled and surfed, and probably I don't even think I even contacted my mum for maybe a couple of years. Only not because of any reason outside of back then there was no mobile phones, there was no real way of contacting anyone, and you sort of didn't have money to put in a telephone to call home, and they probably never had they might not even had one anyway, but so I did that, and sort of settled somewhere, and then got a job as a drainer. So, I was just working outside, digging ditches, and ended up with my own crew of guys, believe it or not, my own van and 3 guys, and, we'd surf at lunchtime, like you do. And from there, then I came home, and I settled back down because, I don't know, I just felt like I had to do something different. I just felt like I was just at a lost end, I guess, like I was trying to figure out, is my life just going to be like this? Or am I just going to surf for the rest of my life? Or do I sort of do something different, So, I came back, and I was fortunate enough to get a job, and ended up with a fairly serious job with, mainly like a general manager's job, probably in the end of the day. And I worked in that one job for 27 years. And then after that, bought a business. Of course, Nat was saying, we've been married for 27 years. So actually we bought a business, an importing and distributing business. And we had that for about 6 or 7 years. And after that, we said that we bought a commercial building too that the business was in. And after that time, we decided that we had enough of that. We wanted to retire. So at 58, I just gave up work, retired, and we've got a home in Brisbane in the River Avenues. So that we renovated from scratch. Like we've actually renovated 2 homes, but we renovated that, and then we decided that we would rent that out, and like just do things that I suppose a lot of people won't do, because it takes a little bit of effort to just walk out of your family home and rent that out to someone and move somewhere else, but I did that mainly just so I could go surfing again, to be honest, so just while I still could. And so now we're up on the Sunshine Coast, which is about an hour north of Brisbane, or an hour north of where we did live. Did a lot of did some travelling. We've done a lot of travelling. Me and Nat have done quite a bit of travelling, quite a few countries around the world, but because we really like doing that, and we got another European trip planned for later. My dad died probably 5 years ago, which was very sad, but that's just the way life is, so I suppose it would be worse if you were to lose one of your children. So I guess at least that's the way life is supposedly meant to be. Just seems a shame that anyone has to die. So much fun being alive, but you don't want to go. So I guess that's about it, really. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer. So we know a little bit about you, and you already told us you had a company together. You were running it together while being married. And do you remember, like anyone can start first, do you remember the challenges you had, like also working as a couple? And because, I mean, we work together as a couple as well, and it's just very interesting to learn from someone else, like what you go through and how did you manage it?
No, we worked well together, but I only worked like 2 or 3 days a week, so we weren't working 5 days a week together. So Rob worked the 5 days because someone had to be there, and I did the bookwork, and I really could have done that in one day, but I still used to go in about 2 or 3 days a week just to sort of help out and support. So we had fun working together. I mean, there was a few times, you know, when husbands ask your opinion and you give it to them and then they don't like it. And so I'd say, well, don't ask me. So, but that would be about all. We had fun working together. So, but I will tell you something cute. Rob goes, because I used to work in a pharmacy before that, and he goes, oh, I miss missing you. I miss picking you up from work. So, yeah, no. So, you know, maybe if you worked 8 hours a day, 5 days a week together, maybe it might be hard. But we had different jobs in the business too. He used to deal with the customers, and then I did the bookwork, and I'd deal with the people that we would order the goods from. So we also had different jobs as well. So it was easy for us.
It wasn't that easy.
Oh.
Yeah, like it's like any business. There's always challenges, you know. Like, you know, I guess the fact that you have to be there and you have to be doing what needs to be done. There's nowhere to really hide, even though, you know, we did have like downtime that we could just take it easy and relax. But the other side of the coin is, I mean, if you don't have the stock on the shelf, if you don't have the money in the bank, if you don't collect the money off the customers, if you know, you've always got these worries if the stock doesn't turn up from overseas on time, if, you know, like there's always these small issues that can always get you, you know, and people don't pay you, you know, that's a bit annoying. But overall, I think it was probably, I think Nat would agree, I think it was probably one of the best things that we ever did. You know, we really enjoyed doing that, and, you know, the business also gave us, like, we bought a commercial building because we had the business. If we didn't have the business, we wouldn't have bought the commercial building. So that was just another thing, that experience that we got out of life, you know, to do that. But and then when the time come to that, we thought we'd had enough of the business. I mean, you know, we were always sort of like, I don't know whether you call it lucky or you make your own luck, but, you know, like, I sort of just approached one of our customers, which was another wholesale seller business that was similar to ours, but because we had product that was exclusive to Australia from overseas that no one could buy from overseas except us, so we had the distributorship for particular companies overseas. We were able to we had other businesses that were actually our competitors that would buy our product off us, would have to, because they couldn't buy it anywhere else. So we were lucky that I was able to talk to one of them and just mention that, maybe I've had enough and I'm thinking about selling. And believe it or not, maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that, they came in and gave us an offer. And we said, yay, we're out of here. You know, so that was it. And then from there, that's when we went to Europe for 3 months, I think, and actually went to Europe for 3 months, got home and thought, that was all right, let's go for another 3 months. So we did that a couple of times, and then we moved up to the sunny coast. So, yeah, a great experience, loved it.
And how did it feel, and how was it when there were challenges for you with the business? So, I mean, when there were situations that you didn't know in advance, that appeared, and that you thought, oh God, oh shit, how should I handle this? So do you have an advice for people who are building up their business, or people who have a business, how they can handle these situations? How did you find the balance back in these situations?
I can probably tell you one side and Rob can tell you the other side. If you don't like bookwork, either have an excellent bookkeeper or don't buy a business, because you have to know profit margins. If you're not making any profit, you don't have a business. So we had I don't know if you call it like a boutique computer system. It wasn't MyOb.
Software, yeah.
As software, and it would tell us every minute of the day how much profit we would make. So we could keep track of profit margins, money, everything. So what you always have to, you've got to keep your eye on the ball with the money, and then you just work it out from there. So this computer system was excellent, and it really made life easy for us. So that was my job, all to do with, okay, gee, the bill's getting high with the transport companies. Let's find a better one. Or foreign exchange, which we do. Let's find a better foreign exchange that has better rates, less commission. So that is, with a business, it's keeping eye on the money. Very, very important. So, Rob, you can tell the other side.
Okay, yeah. How do you handle the stress of business? That's a good one. Probably, like Nat, she doesn't seem to feel stress, so I felt like I was probably taking all the stress and she was taking none of it, It was like, oh, well, what are we going to do now, Rob? So it was pretty much up to me, which, look, I didn't mind that, but I guess if you want to say, like, what would be a drama that we may have had, probably the biggest drama we had would have been one of our key suppliers from America decided they were going to sell out, and it's like, okay, so if someone buys them out, are they still going to want to honour the distributorship to us and whatever? So, and that was a fair bit of pressure, like, then you're sort of forced into having to communicate with these people and try and get some boundaries off them on whether, that we're still going to be able to do business with them like we were before, because without them, we don't have a business. So, I mean, then all of a sudden the money that you've invested in your business is all gone and your business is worth nothing. Mm-hmm. So how do you handle that sort of stress? I don't think you really handle it. You're just out of control. That's basically it. But I think Nat was really good at keeping, basically, I guess you sort of have to just have that look that, what will be will be. We've confronted a lot of things throughout our life, and you know what? Everything's always worked out. We've always managed to come up with a plan that would get us through that day. And if it didn't, so that's life. That's just another experience, whether you, I guess it's the same. I mean, if you break up in your marriage, I mean, that's another, you can have two ways of looking at that. You can take the down attitude, oh God, that's it, oh wow, whatever. Or you can just look at it as like, okay, that was another experience. I just get on with my life, be happy from day one and just go on. So that's the way I tried to approach business, and there was definitely days that were pretty dark, but yeah, always pull through. And I can tell you right now, at the end of the day, like I said before, best thing I ever did, like that experience and being able to get through that, to buy a business, to run it, and to actually be able to sell it was quite an achievement. We felt really, really, really proud that we were able to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very, very interesting and very wise and intelligent words. So thanks for that. And so like you already told us that you work together and you live together. You're married for 27 years. So there comes up the question for me, like, how did you meet each other? And how was the time falling in love? And where did you get married? Can you tell us a little bit about your love life? Not too much, of course, in detail.
Okay, shock horror. We met at the pub, drinking. So that's where we met. So don't believe it when someone says you can't meet the love of your life at a pub. It's just not true. And because we used to go to the gym all together, people used to think, oh, did you meet at the gym? Nah, pub. So we met at the pub. And anyway, Rob said to me, oh, I run and I do weights. And I said, well, I swim and run. So I said, I go Saturday afternoon at like the Olympic swimming pool. So Rob turns up, but he turns up to say that he can't stay. He had to pick someone at the airport to do with work. I said, okay. And he said, well, I'd get your phone number, but I don't have a pen. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a reception lady right behind me, but hey, I won't say anything. So he just said to me, oh, well, are you going to be at the pub next Friday night? So I said, I don't go to the same place twice. So anyway, the night he met me, I was with my friend Michelle, and she was the manager of the local shopping centre. So that's all Rob could do was contact the local shopping centre and contact my friend to get my phone number. Well, my friend got the wrong idea. She goes, I thought Nathalie liked him. He's ringing me, because Rob was quite shy and he couldn't sort of just come out and say, have you got Nathalie's phone number? And then anyway, my friend invited him over, and he came over and, oh, Rob, you want a beer and you want something to eat? And he's thinking, oh, no, how am I going to ask her for her phone number? And eventually Rob just had to blurt out and say, have you got Nat's phone number? So then he called me, and, you know, there was a few hanging around, and he goes, guess who this is? And I go, oh, Cameron? Oh, David? He goes, no, it's Rob. Rob. Oh, yes. So then he said he'd gone to the pub, and I thought, well, I better have a second look, you know. So, oh, yes, I can meet you there. And then I think the next day or 2 days later, he asked me to go to the coast, and he picked me up. And we went to the beach, he went surfing, and we had lunch and drinks, and then it was just, I don't know, after a week or two, it was sort of every day after that. Yeah, so it was fun.
Fell in love at first sight.
Well, you did anyway, love. There you go. What have you got to add?
Oh. Well, I guess I can take off from there and just say how or where we got married, because that was part of the question. Yeah, we decided that we would go, because of surfing and that, we wanted to go to the Pipeline Masters in Hawaii. So Nat organised a holiday over there, so we went over to go to the Pipeline Masters and watch the contest and spend some time on Hawaii, on the north shore of Oahu in Hawaii. And while we were there, we decided that we would get married. So we didn't have anyone else there, just me and Nat. And we actually got married on Sunset Beach underneath a big palm tree. Organised a celebrant, organised a minister. We actually got the bus to our wedding, believe it or not. So we've got the local bus. It was only $1 too, I think, to get there. And so we got there, and there happened to be a couple of Canadian people walking along the beach, and we sort of grabbed a hold of them, and they became our witnesses and friends. So, you know, which stayed in contact, and so that's how we got married. So so I always threaten that. I always say, well, we're not really married in Australia, you know. Like we have an American marriage certificate. So that was fun too. But you know, coming home and telling everyone we got married while we were away, that was different. Mum was like, oh yeah, that'd be right, you know. So that's how it all happened.
So I have a little bit more private question. So because being married for 27 years, so it's a very impressive time. So how do you handle it? Or what is the secret for staying for so long time, so happy, so great married? Because we know you are very happy persons. You are a very great couple. So what is the secret? Do you have an advice or something special?
Okay. Well, I guess now that we've come to the end, it's easy because you know each other for a long time. But you do have to express your opinions because, you know, if you keep something to yourself, that's when people walk out of a marriage because they haven't expressed their opinions, and then so the other person doesn't know what's going on, and so there's misunderstandings. But I guess it's important not to repeat the fight. So if you have a fight over something, you have a resolution and you move on. So, yes, so I do argue. So, but we don't have screaming fights or calling each other's names or swearing. We argue about the subject. So you got to we've never had those fights where you're swearing or smashing dishes or anything like that. We just argue and get over it and move on. So we have had arguments. Tend not to have so much, the longer you're together. Like, probably argue a lot the first couple of years you're together because you lived at home with mum and dad, or you lived by yourself, or you travelled, or, you were single, and all of a sudden you've got to live in the same house with someone. So there's that getting used to. But the other thing I like to say to people about marriage, it's work, but it shouldn't be hard work. If it's hard work, it might not be right. But it's work because you've got to compromise. And I think it's important to have things in common, because if you have completely separate ideas and separate things of what you want to do, then you're not doing things together. So you don't have to have everything in common. I think everybody needs their own space, but I think it's important to have a lot of things in common. Like, we both like exercising. We both like the beach. I probably go 1 day a week. He goes 7 days a week. But we both silly things. We both love science fiction movies, and we like going to the movies, and we like to travel. And
we like wine.
Yeah. Well, he never used to like wine, but since Europe, he's liked wine. He was a bourbon man before that, but he still likes bourbon. But, yeah, so, just sitting here now, I think the whole thing's been pretty easy, but I guess there's been times, there's always times when your partner annoys you, and I'm sure I annoy him more than he annoys me. I can be quite annoying, it's just really good.
Okay. That's, I think there's one thing that you must do, and that's really, you must always be happy that your partner is happy. So if your partner wants to go and do something and that's going to make them happy, go right ahead. That's what life's about. Don't restrict your partner just because you might think that you're not getting it your way. That is just the start of an endless cycle. That's just, you're destined for doom. So, I think that, but if you can genuinely, and I think I really do genuinely like it when that's likes to do something. And I know she's the same. When I go surfing, when I come back from surfing, I'm always happy. Surfing makes me happy. She always goes, "Oh, I love it when you go surfing. When you come back, you're always happy." But I suppose that's better than getting around the house with a frown on your face. So probably that's the other side of the coin. But I think that, and I just let Nat do whatever she wants, to be honest. And I think she pretty much lets me do whatever I want to, If we want to spend money, she wants to spend money, I go, yeah, whatever, She spends it. If I want to spend money, I go buy some surfboards, okay, I'll go and buy them. If she wants to go and buy some dresses, I just say, well, go and buy them. Don't tell me about it. Just don't ask me to look at them, that's all. I can't handle the shopping side of things. But, and I guess, And we both have different roles in our marriage. Nat likes to do things like organise trips overseas and do photo books and that sort of thing. I like laying around on the couch, going surfing, watching YouTube, and I really we got a good relationship. 27 years is a long time, but I'm not even bored one bit. I couldn't imagine life without Nat, actually. It's really good.
Yeah, our roles are kind of in sync. Like, the things that I like to do, whether it's like in the household, like to do as a couple, he doesn't, and the things he likes to do, I don't. So our roles are in sync. We're not arguing over the same role. And the other really important thing, which we don't do, but I've seen other couples do, and I don't know if this translates into German, but there's a saying, tit for tat. So one person says, I'm going to do that. So the wife says, I'm going to do that, and the husband's not happy with it. So he'll go, well, I'm going to do that. And then vice versa. We know a particular couple that does that, and that doesn't work because all you're doing is fighting and being spiteful. Yeah. So we've never done that either. It's really important that you compromise and are happy, because a marriage is compromise. You know, I mean, people fight with their own family members that they grow up. So it is about, you know, compromising and getting to a middle point. And like I said, the more things you have in common, the easier it is to do that.
Thank you very much for those beautiful words. It's very, very inspiring, and I can surely and truly say for both of us, you're an inspiration for us. And so I'm wondering, like, is there any person when you look back into your life that was an inspiration for you? It could be like a parent or like also a movie star or whoever. Is there someone that comes up in your mind? You say like, oh, that was very, very like an inspiring person for me in my life.
My mother and father were opposites, and so my mother always has some wise words for me. Pick someone that you like already and don't try to change them, because they might change for 2 weeks to try and please you, and they will go back to their old selves. So, you know, in a relationship, the first few months you realise that you like this person for whatever reasons, chemistry, but you want to change them and it's never going to work. So that was the wise words that my mother gave me. Don't try to change someone. Find someone that you like for the way they are. And obviously you never like 100% of someone's personality, but, you know, you want to get the majority part. So that was her wise words to me.
Okay. I haven't had one person that would inspire me, because I've always liked to run my own race. But I've had a lot of people that have inspired me. So my goal has always been to know a person, a trait that they have is very interesting, or I really like, you know, that the way they might run their business, or the way that they might be in their home life, the way they might go to the gym, the way they might surf. And I try and pick pieces out of a lot of different people and then mould that into me to make the person that I am. So I haven't had one inspiration, but I would say that a lot of people have inspired me in different ways throughout my life to make me, I guess, the person I am today. So and I've always really tried not to look too much on the outside, but just do our own thing, you know, not be influenced too much by what other people are doing or not doing. But, you know, I guess that's that saying, you know, be happy in your own skin. And that's my philosophy on life.
Yeah, thank you. And when you look back to the time where you had this business together and also now, when you compare it and you think about your daily life, how your day looks like. So do you have routines? So a passion, you already heard from Rob, you really love the surfing. How does your day look like, and how did your day look like in the past? So what changed?
Okay, well, being retired is kind of fun because you're not on a time schedule. So you do what you want when you want to do it. Like I have friends say to me, oh, aren't you bored? I go, no, not at all. I don't have to ask the boss when I want holidays or time off. I go to the gym, so I go to all my classes that I love, body balance, yoga, cycle, active core. So that's great for me to do. We love watching Netflix. We go to the movies. We go to the shops. We have wine and snacks and music a few afternoons a week. So, yeah, we just have fun and just do what we want. And before that, like, we had the business. So, you know, Rob worked 5 days a week. I work a couple of days a week. So those up a couple of days, I'd, you know, do the grocery shopping or you know, clean the house on those few other days. So, and we still did go to the gym, and all of that sort of thing. Like, so before it would be, before or after work or... So I guess apart from work, I guess not working's just giving you time that you can go to the gym during the day. You don't have to go before or after work, and you can go to the movies during the day instead of the weekend. So it just frees up time.
Well, I guess, both worlds have been really exciting. I mean, I did really enjoy the work that I used to do. I'd really enjoyed the business that we had. But yeah, I'm really enjoying doing what we do now as well. So, I guess a couple of things. I guess our life is comfortable, but, I guess you've got to have some money for that to be the way it is. You wouldn't want to have no money and not be able to do anything if you're retired. So that sort of has, even though money isn't all that important, it sort of does play a role in allowing you to do things, which makes your life a little bit more comfortable. You don't have to worry about, if something breaks or you've got to go somewhere or you've got to do something. So I really, that's, both worlds have been really good. I've really enjoyed, all the work I did looking back. The job that I did was quite, for maybe 20 years I probably worked, 10-hour days and Saturday as well. So I was working like 5.5 days a week and long days for quite a long time. So, and then on top of that, when I was doing that, I was also renovating houses. So, that was, I would get home from work after a 10-hour day and probably spend 2 or 3 hours, putting ceilings up or walls up or whatever. But, when you're young, you got boundless amounts of energy. So use it or lose it, as they say. So, yeah, don't waste time. Don't waste time, because now I'm getting to the age I am now. I just don't want life to end. I mean, it's so much fun, and I feel like I've had a pretty good life, so I don't really want it to end. I'm not thinking about it ending, but, I'm just sort of saying that that's probably the one thing when you give up, when you stop work and you retire, it's like that part of your life is finished. So, I mean, it's not all good from that perspective, okay, I didn't see that coming, that part of my life, I'm not going back there, it's done. It's like bringing up kids, I suppose. Once your kids get to a certain age, it's like, that's all over. I'm not going back there again. So they do have that, you do have that feeling that, oh God, that's all over now. You're sort of happy it's over, but the other side of the coin is that means that you're getting older. So that's not good. But anyway.
Thank you very much. What's also interesting for me is because you've traveled so much. You already said you've been to Europe several times when you were young, and when you now became mature, you grew up, let's say, and you went to Europe several times, and you've been to Europe several times, and so if you would have to leave Australia because for some reason you're not allowed to live here anymore, you had to leave Australia, which country would you choose to live in and why?
I wouldn't mind where you came from, Neckargamund, but I'm afraid the winter's too cold for me. If it was another country, let's say Ireland, probably Hawaii, so not mainland United States. And even though I know Hawaii belongs to the United States, it is kind of like a country on its own. So, because Hawaii's got similar weather to us and nice beaches. So, probably Hawaii, I would think. But, I couldn't imagine really not living anywhere else. But, yeah.
Oh, I don't even know how to answer that, because everywhere that I've been, I mean, Australia is, I don't know, we always say it, it's just such a good place to live that it's hard for me to look outside of Australia. But climate, depending on where you live in Australia, of course, like this area that we live in, which is in southeast Queensland, it's probably the pick of the climates. If you go south, Australia's such a big country. If you go south, it's going to be cold. If you go north, it's going to be extremely hot. So around southeast Queensland, it's probably got one of the best climates, I believe, in the world to live in. You know, the livability. I mean, the winters are mild. You know, there's not a winter that I wear shorts all year round, so I don't even put a pair of jeans on ever. And you know, if you can stay out of the wind in the winter time, it's really quite comfortable in the sun. The summers can get a little bit hot, but like I say, you go further north, you're going to be more than hot. You're going to be roasted. So, but yeah, as far as living somewhere else, I guess. Look, I've probably got to say New Zealand. I guess, you know, just from the perspective that I really like their attitude towards life over there. I just think that they're a little bit more easier going. Like our government is trying to put a little bit too many like regulation laws and don't go here, it's unsafe, don't do this, don't do that, and you know, and then heap the responsibility onto a certain part of the population, where New Zealand's still a little bit more free and easy like that, you know, like you don't have guardrails, like, you know, you can fall off the top of a mountain, they go, oh well, never mind, you know. So but here they wouldn't allow you to go to the top of that mountain, so I find that's restricted as a little bit. That's happened in the last probably 30 to 40 years. Maybe New Zealand will get the same, I don't know, you know, but that basically all comes from the government trying to protect themselves against people suing, I suppose, but, you know, which is unfortunate. Takes away a bit of freedom if you're an adventurous sort of a person. But yeah, so New Zealand, I guess, would be my choice. I'm not sure where, like, I'm not that keen on the cold in the South Island. New Zealand has good surf, so that's a plus. But probably around Tauranga, Mount Maunganui on the North Island, you know, that's an area that I have spent some time surfing and living, and I really liked it there. So, yeah, that's my choice.
I have one more question about your travels, and then we come to our last questions as well. I wanted to ask first you, Nat, and then you, Rob, with your travels back in Europe. So you were around 26 when you traveled around Europe. So which countries did you see, and how was it? What was the difference when you came over years later, and how did you see how things developed over there? That's for you the question. And then for you, Rob, because you mentioned New Zealand, you were traveling through New Zealand, you told me before, with a car that you bought with $800, and then at the end you left with this $800 again. I want to hear this story as well, so we'll start with you, Nat, and then we go. Thanks.
Okay, so when I was 26, I thought I'd grab a plane ticket, a Euro pass and a backpack, and I landed in England, London, flew into London. And after that, I went to a hostel in Bath, and one of the workers advertised for someone to share petrol in his car to drive around Wales, Scotland. So I went to Wales and Scotland, and that was great. And then parted ways, and then I caught a ferry to Ireland. Did a bit of hitchhiking around Ireland. To any of you young people out there, don't do it. This was a long time ago. Actually, back then, the Irish were quite poor, and a lot of the young people used to hitchhike everywhere because they couldn't afford cars. So I did that, and then after Ireland, I went to France, and it's a long time ago, probably can't remember the order of things, but I went to France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Turkey. I think that's all that I can remember. So basically I was just backpacking, and then with my Euro pass, I would just, I'd be at one place, I'd go to the train station, run into other backpackers and say, where are you going? And they'd tell me where they're going. I go, well, that sounds like fun, I'll go too. So because I went on my own, so I just used to tag along with other backpackers if they were sort of heading a similar direction that I wanted to, and made friends that way. We stayed in youth hostels, and I just absolutely had a ball, and it's the best way to travel, because in youth hostels you meet people from all over the world, so you find out how they live and what they're doing. So it was just like the best experience. Just had an absolute fabulous time. So of course 27 years, and I will add, I stayed at Benny's place, and Benny was only 4, and he was a very naughty boy, but his mother was wonderful, and we used to have French night and Italian night, which all included wine, of course. So that was absolutely wonderful. Then met my husband not long after I got back. We got married probably 18 months later. Then we've done all our other little trips to all sorts of different places. And then when we retired, I said, come on, let's go back to Europe. And so our first trip, we spent about a month in Italy. Do you want me to name the places I went to in Italy? Or
If you still remember them, it's fine. But if you don't have to go in too much into detail, just
No, I remember. We spent a week in Rome. Then we spent a week in Pugliano a Mare. Then we spent a week in San Gimignano. And then after San Gimignano, we went to Bellagio. And then we went to Padua. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting something. And then after Italy, we went to Benny's parents' place, and we stayed there for a little while, and we went to Paris, and then we came back. And then after that, we went to Vienna, Salzburg, Prague, Berlin, and finished up at Benny's sister's place in Hamburg. And then we came back for 7 months, and then we went back again because Benny's sister was getting married. So that trip we did, of course, Germany first. So we saw a bit more of Germany at that stage. We went to Munich and Pirna and also Berlin. And then after that, we went back to Paris, which was really great. And then we went to Mandalou and Mendon in Paris. And then we headed over to Spain, and we went to Calpe, which is on the Mediterranean. And after Calpe, we went to Madrid, and then we also went to Salamanca. Then we went up to Santiago de Compostela. And then we went to Vigo, which was the only way you could get to Portugal by train. And then after Vigo, we went to Viana do Castelo. And now I'm nearly forgetting. And then after that, we went to Aveiro. And then we went to the Algarve, which is, and we went to Sagres. Don't really recommend Sagres. Very, very windy. And then after Sagres, we went to Belle-Île, which is like a surfing area, and then we finished up in Lisbon. Oh, also we went to San Sebastian in Spain too. Yeah, and then we finished up in Lisbon, which is a fabulous city, and then we flew home from there. Did you want to know anything else, Benny?
How did it change, like Europe, compared to from earlier?
And how are the differences in the culture?
Oh, how did it change? Okay, lot more crowded now. So put it this way, 27 years was the difference, and I think the plane ticket was more expensive 27 years ago. So because travel was more expensive back then, not as many people used to travel. So I will give you a big difference. When I went to the Sistine Chapel in Rome the first time, I could lay on the floor. There was hardly anyone in there. Just lay on the floor and stare at the ceiling. And, there might have been a handful of people in there. This time, or 27 years later, you're packed in like sardines. So all the attractions were so much busier. Can't really remember particularly whether the streets or the towns were, but the attractions were a lot busier. Like you basically, 27 years ago, you didn't really have to line up for anything. You could just walk in. So yeah, just a lot busier now because airline tickets are so much cheaper, and this is what people like to do with their money. Maybe instead of buying the really expensive car, they go on their big trips to Europe. so a lot more busier. I love the different cultures. So I love going to places where there's not English-speaking tourists. So we went to Pugliana Mare and everyone's speaking Italian. I love sort of just immersing in that different culture, and that's why we sort of spend a week in places and we just sort of wander around. We don't necessarily go to a lot of tourist attractions except the main ones. You've got to go to the Eiffel Tower, Colosseum, the Louvre. But in general towns, we don't necessarily go to visit touristy things. We just walk around and shop and go to cafes. So yeah, we just love the different cultures, and we love hearing those languages around us, and we love the different ways of doing things, and we accept people for who they are. Some cultures might think certain cultures are rude. We don't think that way. We just think that's the way they are, and we even like giggle about it. So yeah, we just love the different cultures. We really, really enjoy it. New Zealand.
Oh, okay, New Zealand. Yeah, that was my first trip overseas, where I actually went abroad to stay. It started off as a surfing holiday, just me and a friend of mine that I grew up with. I'd known Graham for several years before we went over there. He's a surfer too, of course. So we headed off to New Zealand. Just thought, wow, this will be fun. We'll go over, party, surf, and so we got there, bought an old car, an old English car, a Hillman Minx, that we paid $400 for, and we drove that around for 6 months. Went on a pretty limited budget. I think I went over with $800 and the car cost $400, so I had to try and make that $400 go for 6 months. But back then, believe it or not, when we first got there, there was a building site. We bought the car. There was a building site with some big sheets of plastic that were over the top of timber. So we pinched a big sheet of plastic. Naughty boys. We pinched a big sheet of plastic. So what we would do is that we would take the back seats out of the car and we would drive onto the plastic sheet, fold it out, put dirt on the outside of it and bring it back up and fold it into the doors and make it like a sort of a tent on the side of the car. And then we would take the back seats out of the car and we would sleep on each one of those back seats, and we would carry a box of vegetables around in the back of the car and we would cook our food. We might buy a piece of fish each, and do that. And we were staying at youth hostels, and back then youth hostels in New Zealand, $1 a night. That's all it would cost, $1. So we would stay in the youth hostels, and we devised a plan that we would ask other people which way they were going or travelling to get to the next place. And we would always get people to come with us, but they would pay for the petrol. So we would travel for free petrol-wise, and so we did that for like 6 months, just travelled around, me and Graham, and drink, like the beer over there, God almighty. Like they got tankers that they put the beer in the ground. Like, what in the hell is that? And they call us beer drinkers over here. But So we stayed in Christchurch for a while. We stayed in, as I was saying before, we stayed in around Tauranga and Mount Maunganui. We stayed there, and Whakatane, there's another place that we hung out for a while, and then we went down to funny story. We went down to Milford Sound, and I mean back then it was like, oh my God, like New Zealand is an amazing place like that. Like heading down to Milford Sound, you come up against this. Back in them days, there's no one on the road. I'm talking in the 70s here, So we're driving down towards Milford Sound, wondering whether we were even on the highway. We had no idea where we were. No maps, no nothing. No GPS. There's no mobile phones. You're just on a wing and a prayer. But good box of vegetables. You always had something to eat. And so it's a massive mountain, and if you've been down to Milford Sound, you would realise that in the bottom of this mountain is a little starts to appear, and it's actually just a rough cut tunnel that they've excavated through the mountain, and it sort of curves, it goes downhill, and you can only fit a bus or a bit bigger than a bus through it. So yeah, down we went, down to Milford Sound, jumped on the boat. Amazing experience, one of the most incredible places I think on the planet. It was a pretty amazing. Like we came out into the Tasman Sea at the where the beginning of Milford Sound, or Milford Sound enters the ocean, and the amount of wind that was funneling into that sound that day was just unbelievable. People were getting blown down the boat, like we were on the front of the boat, like pinned up against it. That was an experience. So yeah, I really loved all of that. Mount Hutt, like the old Hillman Minks. I think going up to Mount Hutt, there's one area there where it climbs. It's a significant climb. It's like really, really steep. I mean, we're in a Hillman Minks. The tyres are like maybe 75 centimetres wide. They're sort of really skinny and really old and hard. And we're sort of going up there, and the car's nearly trying to go backwards. You know what I mean? It's like a 1,000-foot drop off this side here, and I mean, it's only as wide as one car. We've got the doors opening going, should we bail? But, we made it. We always made it. So, yeah, and sleeping in Mount Hutt, I've never been so cold in my life. I had, like, the most basic sleeping bag. Every bit of clothing I had inside the sleeping bag with me, and lay awake all night just shivering, freezing cold. Like, it was just... So, yeah, that was one of the most unbelievable trips I've ever done. That was so great. It was so much fun. Met so many people. Did New Zealand from the very tip of the North Island to the very tip of the South Island. So yeah, it was great. So yeah. So, and then Europe, yeah, as Nat was saying before, yeah, love the cultures, love the people. I don't think I've never been to a country, Japan, no country I've ever been to that I haven't, liked the people, like really, okay, there's some assholes everywhere in the world, but, like generally, I think if you travel, if you're going to whinge, don't travel. Just take everything for what it is, and if it was the same, stay home. That's why you're going travelling. You're going travelling for the experience. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now we know much about your life story, your passion, your hobbies. And we also noticed during the interview that you don't have any children together. So my question is, why did you decide for not having children together?
Well, we didn't really decide it. I put it off. I was never keen to have children. And I thought, maybe I'll just have an accident. Like a lot of people, they accidentally get pregnant. And I thought, that's the only way I'm going to have a baby, because I'm not going to plan one. And we just had too much fun together. And then I woke up one morning on my 36th birthday and I went, oh, it's too late now, because I didn't want to be, someone having a child in their 40s or anything like that. I mean, that suits some people, but that wasn't what I wanted. So it really just was an accident, basically, opposite of an accident. It was an accident that we didn't have any because we didn't plan to have any. And now we're really happy that we didn't have any. And Rob already had Chloe, so I've got 2 little grandsons, so it's really good fun. So that's basically how it happened. It was planning not to have one, and one didn't come along. So it wasn't because I couldn't have children, or it wasn't because we really... Basically, I mustn't have wanted any, because I didn't plan to have a baby. So that must have really been it. I must have just not wanted it. And we don't regret it at all. Yeah, it's great. So anyone that decides not to have children... you have, when you go on holidays, you have a great holiday. You ask anybody that's got children and they go on holidays, it's not really a holiday for mum. So, but look, children are great, and a lot of, I love Chloe's little boys, and they have a beautiful family, and they do have lots of fun. But yeah, anyone out there, don't be afraid not to have kids, because not having kids is really great fun too. And I don't like to insult anyone, but holidays are fabulous. And when kids are little, you're quite restricted. You can't do a lot of things,
One up anyway, like Clay.
Yeah. So we've had Chloe since she was 5, but we only had to every second weekend. She did have a mother that she did live with. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Nat covered that question pretty much, didn't she? I had one. I was not prepared to go back for any more. If you have children, you love them to death, but, it's a massive commitment, and it's something that you got to carry with you for the rest of your life. It's total exposure to a part of life that can be, you feel their pain, everything that happens to them, you feel, which is... some people handle that better than others, but, oh, God, yeah. You get a lot of enjoyment out of them, but grandkids are the best because there seems to be this disconnection and so you don't feel that so much. But, I don't know. Yeah, I guess if no one had kids, that we'd cease to exist. So there's a part from, but I can tell you one thing, don't have kids because you think the next door neighbours having one. That's a bad mistake to make. Have a really good think about it before you do, because it's not like you can give one back. Oh, I don't think I like this. You actually just set that up for the rest of your life. So think seriously.
Thank you very much for your answers, and I would have so many more questions. And
yeah, me too. There's coming so many more questions up now,
but we'll have a nice dinner later on, and we can ask you more questions. And I think if the listeners want to know more about you, they can contact us, and we will probably, if there's a question comes up more often, we will forward it to you. So thank you very much for your time so far. We will wrap this up, and we will always ask the same questions in the end that we ask also all our guests. So just talking about kids and school, we ask our guests, imagine you would have your own school and you would have to choose the subjects. And it wouldn't have to be you have the normal subjects of class like math and English and whatever, science and all those kind of things. What is your opinion about this, and what would you add if you would have to add anything to those subjects?
And imagine also values or things you learned from yourself in your life that you want to pass on to the children. What is important in life? What should they learn in school already?
I would add yoga. Definitely I would add yoga. The other thing I think that they don't teach in school, or what they have been teaching the last, 10, 15 years, everyone's special. You're special. It's not true at all. So then everybody has this, when you're the most important thing, I don't think it's self-indulgence, or I just can't think of the right word. So I think it's more important at school to teach people how to treat other people and how to respect other people, and how to put other people first. Not to make yourself a doormat, of course, but there's an old saying in the Bible, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So treat other people how you would want them to treat you. And I think if we do that and we have respect for people, I think it would be a better place for everybody.
Well, I guess school, apart from you must know how to read and write, that's just a forgiven. You've got to know that, and you've got to know maths. You've got to know at least basic maths. You just need those skills in life. But I think what we may have lost a little bit is that school needs to be able to teach children to take the knocks. When you get out in the real world, it's not going to be easy. It's not a give me. You've got to be able to take some hits, and if you can't take being put down a bit, or if you can't take getting knocked back for whatever you might be trying to achieve. If you can't take that, then I think that's why we have some of the problems that we have in the world today with people not wanting to continue on with their lives, etc. So I think that's really important. Yeah, and I just think that children need to be children. You know, like I don't know about... Look, I can understand, but I don't know whether... You know, I think they just need to play and be happy. You know, that's such an important part of your life to be able to do that. But getting maybe too much involved in politics or, you know, doing some of the stuff that kids seem to be doing today, I just don't know. I think that's probably better as you get a little bit older and your mind's a little bit more developed. But as young children, I just think that you need to just play with your friends, get out the front, play cricket, football, like just have fun and then just party for a while and then look at the serious side of life. But yeah, I just think that in schools we should be sort of like making sure that we keep that alive. And yeah, that's about it. But education is important. But I don't know. Outside of that, to be really honest, I hated school. Couldn't stand it. Like, I couldn't get out of the place quick enough. It was like, what the hell? What have I got to do this for? Like, I'm at school and they're teaching me French. I'm thinking, I never want to speak French. Like, so I'm going, you know, like, at that stage, I'm thinking, well, I'm never going to France anyway. Like, what do I need to know French for? But, you know, so, and I guess history, like, yeah, who cares if Captain Cook came here in 1770? Like, you know, does that really matter? So I guess, yeah, my feelings are that, you know, yeah, everywhere has its place. And I mean, if you want to know all that stuff, you find it out later on anyway. So, yeah, basic stuff. But, yeah, like, I think, you know, teaching people how to get through life is way more important than, you know, being able to sort of write an essay or whatever. Yeah.
Just in case for those non-English listeners, for Lost in Translation, when my husband said you got to be able to take the hits, we're not talking about physical violence here. We're talking about knockbacks from the boss or something like that. I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being so honest, and these words, they were very inspirational. So now we're coming to the last question we have to, and this is imagine, because we are now our podcast, you know, our podcast's name is Unpopular People. So, and imagine you would be popular. So this means very famous all over the world. So you would stand on many stages and the people from all over the world would listen to you and want to have a meaning and your opinion. And what would you do if you both would be popular? Would you do something different?
Oh, so I don't know if I'd do anything differently, but do you mean like if I was on the TV and I had a message to say? It would be what I would say about education. You know, treat people how you would like to be treated. And if that's the case, we wouldn't even have any wars. So I think it's just very important to respect people and to respect cultures and not think that you're better than someone else because of the colour of your skin or the language you speak or the country that you come from, that we are all the same. And there's an old saying, if aliens from another planet came around, the first thing you'd do would turn to another human being. So that's what I would say, is just respect everybody and yeah, just treat everybody how you would like to be treated, and I think the world would be a much better place if we were all little bit less selfish.
Oh, for me, I think it'd be very hard to know how you would be if you were a famous person or a popular person, because you'd have to be in that position to know whether that would change you or what influence that may have on you. But for me, I'm quite happy being just what I am, you know, like I've never really wanted to be anything more, just wanted to fit in with the world, you know, and believe it or not, I think in some ways, I don't know what it would be like. Say this, like if you were like ultra rich. I don't know what it'd be like to wake up in the morning and not have any want for anything. Like, I think my mind is one of those things that has to say, oh, God, wouldn't it be fun to be able to do that? Or, God, I wish I'll be happy when I pay off my mortgage, or be good when I own this, or it'd be great. I mean, if you never had any of those things, what the hell would be in your mind? Like, so I think humans need that part of life to actually fulfill their requirements. And if you don't have that, I'm afraid that you may be like destined for doom. Like, how many famous people's kids go off the rails because they've got everything? They wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, what am I going to do today? They got nothing in their mind. They're not like thinking, oh, God, I've got to go to work, or I've got to do this, I've got to do that. They don't have to do anything. So therefore, they're at a loose end. Next thing you know, they're off the rails, they're on drugs, they're this, they're that, and their lives are destroyed, all because their parents had money. So you need to be able to, to have a fulfilling life, you do really need to have goals in life. Oh, when you get to my age, you don't need many. Some good surf, a few wines, and a bit of travel. You're really happy. But, yeah, that's what I think.
Oh, thank you guys very, very much for your time and for your answering our questions. It was really inspiring and very interesting for us. And so, yeah, we wrap this up and say goodbye to our listeners from our side. And if you have any final words for our listeners or for us, it's the time to do it now.
Yeah, thank you from my side as well. As Ben said, it was very inspiring, and we really enjoyed the interview with you. We wish you all the best for the future, so that you stay like you are, happy like you are, like we know you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Be happy.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you very much for listening to this very inspiring interview with Nat and Rob. We hope you enjoyed it.
If you want to find out more about our project Unpopular People, or you want to get some more information about Rob and Nat, visit our website www.unpopularpeople.com.